Hey guys, Ed with CMC Reptiles. Wanted to do a video with the blue tongue. Got this guy outside, 77 degrees, no humidity. And so I'm letting this guy come outside, get a little exercise. He's actually dropping some shed right now too. But it's pretty neat how these blue tongues, how fast they are. I mean, it's crazy how really fast these guys are and how they look for places to burrow. These guys are all about burrowing, looking for places to hide. You see, when he's outside, he gets a little defensive. It's hilarious. I actually just got done feeding him some dog food. But I think one important thing is getting these, when you have these bigger animals, I know to have the proper enclosure is great, but even to get these guys outside and work with them, let them get some natural sunlight, little exercise where they could pretty much run around for a couple hours. And I do that with all my big snakes, frog, lizards during the summertime. Fortunately, the weather here has been in the high 70s, so I could get these animals out. But it's pretty neat. These guys are so fast, and you don't get to see them do that unless you do bring them outside. And how they look for tall grass and leaves to try to burrow under. And they kind of use their nose to shovel under stuff. And the grass is kind of high right now, so he looks for the highest part of the lawn. You can see he's kind of shoveling his nose down. But that's what they do. They burrow under leaves, grass, all that kind of stuff. But you don't get to see that when you got them in cages, so it's kind of nice. Take him outside. And the fact that he is in shed, it kind of helps him get his shed off too. Because these guys kind of their shed just kind of falls apart. And that grass is damp on top of that, so it does help the skin come off. I did a video a few months back, kind of where this guy was shedding on the lawn. Same thing. But yeah, look how he's just kind of burrows himself in that taller grass, which is pretty neat. Just looking for a place to hide. I kind of try to help him with this, peel the shed off. It's still a little bit stuck on him, so I don't want to force it too much. It'll come off on its own. That's the other thing. If you're doing shows or birthday parties, things like that, it's kind of nice to get these guys out so they're used to being out of their enclosure, being out in the open. Just like this guy. I know Dave Kaufman's put out some pretty cool videos on showing how a lot of these animals they're in their natural habitat. And it's kind of the same thing when you do bring them out on these nice days. You kind of get to see them, how they act if they were in their natural habitat. Even if you have the most perfect enclosure for them, it's not the same in them being outside. And if you do have time, bring these guys outside, bask in the sun. Like I said, I do it with my big boas, my blood pythons, my retic. Of course, the tortoises are always outside. They're actually, I don't know if you could see them over there. They're against the wall, sunny. Lazy. What a life. During the winter time, I keep the tortoises at nighttime. They stay inside the reptile room in large containers. So when they are ready to nest at night, and when they wake up in the morning, I bring them back outside. During the summer, they're out all year long. But yeah, these blue tongues are just really cool animals, really fast. And like I said, you don't get to see that speed when they're in a cage. I'm trying to get them to run a little bit here. But when he's just trying to shovel that nose into deep grass and stay hidden. And part of the reason is they don't feel safe wide out in the open. So they try to hide, and that's all he's doing. As you can see right there. Because before he was just scooting across the grass really fast, trying to find some taller grass to shovel in. And like he's doing right here, he just uses that nose to burrow down under leaves and tall grass. And I do try to keep this grass, it's like I said, it's middle of winter, so I don't really mow it during the winter time. The tortoises graze on it, and I like to let the animals kind of crawl through it. I put the blood python out here also in the summer. I'll wet the grass down. But I think it is real important to get these guys outside. Even if it's once a month, twice a month, it's not something you want. I know it's not something you do every day. You'd probably stress them out. You don't want to do it too often, but just to get them out, I think it does make a huge difference. Especially if they're animals that you like to handle a lot and they're around kids. They're used to being out of their enclosure. It's not always, you know, just throwing food in there every time you open the cage, and they become more defensive. He's definitely huffing and puffing a little bit, but you can see the shed coming off. And like I said, I just fed him before I brought him out. I just gave him some dog food. I do not leave dog food in his enclosure. I feed him every other day. I offer him food. When he's done eating, I take it out of his cage, because dog food smells like crap when it gets a little bit stale. I also feed this guy super worms, and once in a while I give him chicken hearts. So I give him a little bit of everything, not just dog food. All right, guys, I'll talk to you later.